welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Okay, so we're almost like a couple days away from the first debate. This comes out on the 24th. The first debate's the 26th. This is gonna be a big thing for this channel because, Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk says, the debates are the fun part of an election year. Because, most debates are fun for election year, for the most part. Even when I was, not on this channel and in the 2016 debates, things seemed fun. Donald Trump pimp-slapping all the other corporate Republicans. That's all of his donors and special interest groups in there booing me. So, there's a lot of things to look forward to in the debates. Especially considering there will be some good people in the debates, some not so good people, but we'll see how it goes. Also, there's a bit of controversy on my Twitter. Go follow on that so you can see what's going on. And my official Pluribus Unum main series video Pride Month vid is going to be released on the day of the second debate. So you'll have two things to look forward to. With all that out of the way, let's get right into the news. The first news is actually something I participated in, kind of. Well, you see, it kind of involves the Green Party presidential primary. So, for those of you who don't know what's going on, in the Green Party presidential primary, there are, 7 or so candidates. Seton M. Curry, Ian Schlockman, Dario Hunter, Dennis Lambert, Howie Hawkins, those are the major ones, but there's also a lot of minor ones, and there was Alan Augustin who just dropped out, but anyways, there's been some controversy in the Green Party presidential primary, the biggest thing being how the candidates like Seton M and Ian and Dennis have kind of been rallying to make sure that the Green Party has a fair presidential primary, because if you know anything about third parties, as I do, judging by my channel, you know that usually with third parties, it's usually a party founder or a very influential figure within the party that usually becomes their presidential nominee, never really anybody who strays too far on the line. For example, Jill Stein and Ralph Nader were the nominees twice because they worked so well the first time, why not try a second time? And the only time and there's also usually when there's a major party person who leaves and joins a third party, they usually get the nomination as well. Like with Cynthia McKinney. I think the only Green Party candidate that kind of was the average kind of candidate of rising up through the ranks and actually trying, it would be David Cobb. But even then, I don't entirely know if he was a favorite for the pick, because there was also Peter Camejo who was running on behalf of Ralph Nader. But anyways, so the Green Party has actually kind of had some issues in the past with presidential politics, because last time around, Seton M. Curry had some issues with how the Green Party chose Jill Stein as their candidate, and it appeared that they gave her more of a chance of winning the nomination compared to the rest of the candidates, which, to an extent, kind of looks to some extent it does seem off, but she blamed it on white supremacy, and I'm not quite, but candidates like Seton M, Kent Messplay, and Daryl Chaney were kind of considered they're not officially counted as presidential candidates of the Green Party, but Jill Stein and Bill Krelm were. So, but anyways, in regards to the most recent thing, there has been calls for, because the Green Party a lot of prominent Green Party members, like Kevin Zeese and Margaret Flowers and Ajemu Baraka, have expressed support and interest for a Howie Hawkins ticket for the Green Party. And, Ian Schlockman wrote an article basically saying how, he's okay, that's fine if you personally support Howie Hawkins, but we need to have a fair primary to show that there's, just complete transparency. And then Kevin Zeus was like, why? What? No, Howie should be the nominee. You're a nobody. Your gubernatorial nomination was terrible. Your congressional race was disgusting, awful. No thank you. You shouldn't be our presidential nominee. Which many people are like, wait, what? Why? Kevin, you're not acting that nice, bro. I mean, I like what you did with the embassy, but, you're kind of doing some not so good things here. But I mean, okay, so I contributed to the fact that I reposted the article that Ian wrote on the Independent Political Report. And, hopefully maybe Kevin will see it and he'll reach some, conclusions, or maybe he'll just be whatever. If Kevin is on the show, I'll gladly ask him this question, but, regardless, I don't necessarily think that other people have a chance at the nomination, because even if it's more of a fair election, Howie's got the advantage of being the party founder. If you make a political party, and you run for the party's highest position, it's highly unlikely that you're gonna lose the nomination. But anyways, next story. It's kind of relating to Iran. Biggs Kana launched a bipartisan War Powers Caucus. Representative Andy Briggs, a member of the conservative House Freedom Caucus, and Representative Ro Khanna, the first vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, announced an unlikely partnership on Tuesday. The bipartisan duo launched the War Powers Caucus, a group that says it is dedicated to restoring Congress's constitutionally mandated authority over matters of war and peace. According to the caucus's mission statement, the group is focused on reclaiming the legislative branch's Article I powers, evaluating the costs and benefits of military intervention, seeking diplomatic solutions before resorting to force, and ending the U.S.'s involvement in the vaguely defined open-ended conflict, as well as reallocating the country's resources towards domestic policies. I think it also includes Barbara Lee. Oh, yeah, it says right here. Ken Buck and Barbara Lee are also founding members. And I expect that there's going to be a couple more people that are going to join, maybe someone like probably Pramila Jayapal and AOC and Rashida Tlaib. Yeah, I think more people are going to join. I'm surprised Amash isn't actually there as well. I mean, maybe Amash is just too busy running for the Libertarian Party nomination. He hasn't confirmed that yet, but, he's done everything but confirm that. So, on one hand, this is really good. On both hands, actually, to be quite honest, this is really good that Congress is actually trying to, reel in the ability for the president to just say, war, we're going to war with this country, because, that's a good thing. We have checks and balances for a reason, but there's also some iffiness, not really regarding these guys, but in regards to the likes of, the, let's say Nancy Pelosi, for example, because she has also expressed interest in, going to war with Iran. But she said, you gotta go through the proper things first. But Kana is actually opposed to the war in total. And that's why he's offering the checks and balances. It's really weird. Pelosi, you can't say, I'm going to reel in the checks and balances, but just go along with it anyways. You're the House Speaker. You're the Speaker. You're supposed to try to reel in, Trump. That's your job. You're supposed to be the one that puts him in check. That's your job. If you're the opposing party and, you don't like the president, you're supposed to give him a check, not just go along with his plan. And that's what happened with the Democrats with the Iraq War. They, like a good majority of them, just sat idly by and was like, yep, let's go to war. I don't see a problem. But you're not giving them the actual check and balance that you're supposed to give them. That's your whole job. You know, that's your whole thing. And that's why I say Kana should be speaker. 100% Ro Khanna should be speaker. Because Ro Khanna is actually a leader, not a follower. He should be the leader of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He should be the leader of the House of Representatives. Hell, I'd even go so far as to say Ro Khanna should be president. If Ro Khanna ran for president, yeah, let's go with Ro Khanna for president, please. I mean, after, like, 2024, but... No, not 2024. 2028. 2028, Ro Khanna 2028. So anyways, this story is coming out of Sweet Home, Alabama. And I think you know what it is. Roy Moore, to make a second Senate bid in Alabama. The former Alabama Chief Justice lost a 2017 election for the Senate seat to Democrat Doug Jones. Republican Roy Moore, who narrowly lost to Democrat Doug Jones in a 2017 special election for the U.S. Senate in Alabama, announced on Thursday he will make another run. Mr. Moore's decision comes as top Republicans, including President Trump, have discouraged his candidacy. They see the Alabama Senate seat to be their best pickup opportunity in the 2020 race and consider Mr. Moore a poor choice to contest it. Can I win? Yes, I can win, Mr. Moore said in Montgomery, Alabama, as he announced his bid. Mr. Moore, a long controversial figure in the state, suffered a significant blow during the 2017 race when he was accused of sexually pursuing several teenagers decades earlier when he was in his 30s. He narrowly lost the special election to Mr. Jones after Mr. Trump won the state by a 27 percentage points in the previous year. Mr. Moore denied allegations of wrongdoing at the time of calling him political conspiracy against him. Now, Roy Moore is running for Senate against Doug Jones again. What do I think? Who do I think would win in a possible matchup between Roy Moore and Doug Jones? Well, let's take a look at this a little more objectively. Okay, so Doug Jones. How much of a margin did Doug Jones win? Doug Jones won by 21,924 votes. So a 1.7% margin of error. Not margin of error, like add 1.7%. At 1.7% to Roy Moore's total, and you get Doug Jones's total. He had 50% of the vote. 50% of the vote. Doug Jones literally had 50% of the vote. So, there were a lot of people who were willing to vote for a convicted pedophile. I mean, there were a lot of write-ins, but that's the thing. They didn't vote for Doug Jones. They wrote someone in. There were some people who voted for someone who ran against Jones in the primary. There's some people who wrote in, like other Republicans. There's some people who wrote the incumbent senator. There's some people who wrote in, Jeff Sessions is the guy who they were replacing. Yeah, I got him. But they didn't vote for Doug Jones. That's the important part. I know 100% Jones won due to a fluke. He only won because he was running against the pedophile. Now, those charges of being a pedophile aren't really in people's minds anymore. So, there is a good chance that Roy Moore could win this. I mean, I don't necessarily... I mean, that's just the simple truth. Either way, whoever wins the Republican primary is probably going to win the seat. I mean, there's just no question about it. I don't even think that maybe Doug Jones would even have a worthy primary challenger. I mean, the only guy that's running against him so far is the guy who's, said that Donald Trump Jr. should be aborted. But I mean, that's not really a winning strategy either. So, yeah. I don't think Doug Jones is going to win in 2020, period. So, yeah. Now, the next story. Maine leads nation moves to ranked choice voting for president. This week, the Maine House joined the Maine Senate and passed a bill to expand ranked choice voting to presidential elections. Democratic Governor Janet Mills has 10 days to sign, veto, or allow proposals to become law without her signature. RCV will be used in the primary and general elections for president. The legislators have also voted to put in place a primary system for president rather than allow caucuses. This is good. This is inevitably a good thing. I think that ranked choice voting is ultimately a really good thing. I mean, it's worked so far for the Democrats when it came to Jared Golden. He ran and he won. But, I mean, you know, and it's highly likely that it's going to work for the presidential nominations as well. I mean, I highly doubt that. I mean, it's very likely that they're going to probably do this a little wrong. But, I mean, you know, it's very likely that they're going to use it the right way. There's going to be Mainers who want to vote for the Libertarian or the Green Party nominee. And then, you know, their second choice will be the Democrat. Of course, ranked choice voting will ultimately still lead to the two-party system remaining, but it's an ultimately good way to get rid of any possible, you know, accusations of the spoiler myth. You know, it's a good thing, so, yeah, that's pretty good. So anyways, this is a Vice story that I'm not really going to go into the meat of the story on. I'm only using this for a quote that is very interesting. So the article is titled, "Run for President and Lose Your House Seat. It Could Happen for These 2020 Candidates." So pretty much the article goes into detail about how, you know, maybe it's not wise for Tulsi Gabbard, Tim Ryan, Seth Moulton, or Eric Swalwell to run for, you know, the nomination for president when they have House seats that are more than likely ready to be held by them. You know, there's like a lot of people who are saying like these guys need to run for their House seat rather than run for the presidency, especially considering the primaries for their states will, of course, coincide with the presidential nomination. And a lot of their states don't hold the position of having to, you can't run for two offices at the same time. But the problem is not with that. I mean, some of those would make sense. I mean, why run for a House seat, or like why not? Like it's a gamble every time you decide to try and move up in the political game. Alan Grayson decided to try and move up in the political game and run for Senate, and, you know, they kicked him out. But again, I'm not going to go in the depth of the meat of this. I'm only going to go over a quote that comes from Kai Kahele, a 45-year-old state senator and airline pilot who has promised to make a bare-knuckle fight should Gabbard run for her re-election in her House seat. He said, quote, "She's got a fucking tiger on her tail, and she's gonna be in trouble. It's a different Hawaii than what she's used to, and I'm a completely different candidate than anything she's ever faced." Now, the thing is, the pending people are actually pointing out how Tulsi Gabbard isn't really that popular in Hawaii, apparently. I don't 100% believe that's the case. But I mean, you know, maybe there's some slight exaggeration on Tulsi's popularity, but, you know, I highly doubt that she's super incredibly unpopular, that she's just completely no. But I mean, you know, let's see how that goes. I mean, I highly doubt. I think if Tulsi runs for her seat again, which she ultimately will, she's going to ultimately win out. Okay, so this next story is about the 2020 Democratic debates. Remember Steve Bullock and how he was whining and crying about not making it into the first debate? Well, he's in the second one. Not the one that's going to be on June 27th, but he's going to be in the July debates. So, yeah. Montana Governor Steve Bullock campaign said on Tuesday that he has qualified for the second round of Democratic presidential debates in July after notching a 1% in a CBS News YouGov poll released over the weekend. As the only candidate who has won a Trump state, we are excited that Governor Steve Bullock's important voice will be on the stage in the second debate, Bullock's campaign manager, Jennifer Ritter, said in a statement. Yeah, I mean, no, it's not quite true. I mean, Tim Ryan is from a state that overwhelmingly voted for Trump in the general election, and Tim Ryan is also a candidate for president. So, yeah, that title that Steve Bullock has is not quite true. I mean, you could make the argument but Steve Bullock won the whole state, whereas this guy won one district. I mean, fair enough, but I mean, you gotta be a little more specific in that regard. So anyways, again, with the 2020 presidential nomination, Elizabeth Warren emerges as a potential compromise nominee. Centrists who once said that the senator would lead the party to ruin are coming around to her as an alternative to Bernie Sanders. There was a time, not so long ago, when leading Democrats warned that Senator Elizabeth Warren's fantasy-paced blue state populism risked leading the party to ruin. But in a revealing tale of how far her campaign has come since its early February launch, some unlikely voices in the center of the party are growing more comfortable with the idea of Warren as the nominee. It's a sign of how the ideological lanes of the 2020 primary have blurred and overlapped, and making steady progress Warren is making as a candidate. But it's also a statement on Bernie Sanders, Warren's top rival for the progressive votes. Sanders continues to face significant resistance from within the party, and nowhere more so than amongst the moderates and establishment players who blanch at his talk of democratic socialism. Warren, on the other hand, is gaining traction amongst those who once rejected her muscular vision of liberalism. She's drawn a notice for her wide-ranging "I have a plan for that" policy book, which has just enough growth and opportunity center-left measures to earn her a serious look from former detractors. The Massachusetts senator may be out of sync with party centrists, but she's drawn at least one sharp line with Sanders and is reasonably prominent moderate voices as she surges to the top of her polls. So, yeah, that is a slight problem. Okay, so let me explain the reason why this is happening is because Warren has 1 foot in the corporate lane and 1 foot in the progressive lane. So there's some problems with that. And the problem is, that's not necessarily going to bode well for anyone. You see, the reason why people like Bernie Sanders is the fact that he's not going to compromise with the moderates. It's my way or the highway. The fact that Warren is willing to be like, oh, but so that's not really going to bode well for, the progressive base. There's some that might vote for Elizabeth Warren, but they're not going to be too happy about someone who says yeah, I'm going to compromise on Medicare for all. So what? So, yeah, that's not necessarily going to bode well for a lot of the progressive base. Especially considering a similar thing happened a long time ago. In 1916, the Republican Party had a nomination for president, as you do. And there were a lot of progressives that were running for the nomination. I think Robert M. La Follette was running. I think they forced Teddy Roosevelt to run, even though he wasn't technically running. And, they really wanted Robert M. La Follette, I think. But Charles Jefferson Hughes was seen as a compromise candidate, as he could appeal to the more conservative people and the progressive people at the same time. And, of course, Charles Hughes didn't win at all. But, I mean, why not? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't we compromise? Compromising is what the Democrats are known for. Now, of course, there's also some issues in regards to a tweet that Bernie made saying, like, of course, the corporate wing of the party is everybody but Bernie. And a lot of people are like, oh, why would you hate Elizabeth Warren like that? I mean, why would you do that? Are you sexist? Are you a pig? Blah, 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 blah. And there's even going so far as to write articles saying that Bernie said, they're even saying like Bernie, quote, said that Elizabeth Warren's popular because she has ovaries, despite the fact that that is not true at all. That he did not say that, period. But the thing is, he's right. The corporate wing of the party, there are people in the party who literally said we would support anyone except for Bernie Sanders. So, he's right. And of course, that's why people love him, because he's 100% correct. So anyways, this is kind of both an article and a growing story. So here's what happened. Joe Biden said that he was talking about a senator that he used to work with in the Senate. And then he was like, this guy was really cool and I really liked him and he showed me the ropes and blah, blah, blah. But then people did a quick Google search and realized, wait a second, this guy is a white supremacist. So that led to a lot of people being mad at Joe Biden, because he openly was like, yeah, this white supremacist that I knew, he was a pretty cool dude. I liked him, and he was a smart, cool boy. And, of course, there's been a lot of people that are saying, like, oh, this is bad, or oh, this is not so bad. And some people that have been, people like Cory Booker, and, Kamala Harris, and Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, they've been critical of this, because, they're not necessarily open to the fact of being like, yeah, this segregationist I knew was pretty cool. But there have been some people who I both like and who I don't like that have actually defended Joe Biden. The one that I like that defended Joe Biden was, surprisingly, Tulsi Gabbard. And, of course, I can see David Pacman and Anna Kasparian are going to jump on this and be like, see, Nico, see how Tulsi Gabbard is evil? I mean, Tulsi's whole point was, like, we need to work together on actual issues. We can't focus on this nonsense of, like, oh, this person was a segregationist. Oh, we need to understand that there are people in the Senate and House we don't like, and we just got to come together and find some sort of middle ground. And it's like, I don't really think that might be a good idea when you were like, hey, we should work together, stronger together, when you're talking about open segregationists. So, I highly doubt that that's really gonna bode well for really anybody, for that matter. Now, who's the person that I don't like that defended Joe Biden? John Lewis. That's right. Civil rights activist John Lewis was saying how Joe Biden defending a white supremacist guy is like, nah, that's not bad. Here's exactly what he said. Like, I don't think that the remarks are offensive. During the height of the civil rights movement, we worked with people and got to know a lot of people that were members of the Klan. people who opposed us, people who even beat us and arrested us and jailed us. We never gave up on our fellow human beings, and I will not give up on any human beings. But Joe Biden is saying that he agreed with him. He's saying, like, this is a cool person. I liked him, and I hang out with him on Thursdays and went bowling. You didn't do that with the KKK? You said, hey, Klansman, how you doing? And he said, die, you N-word, and beat you. I'm just going to say it. I think John Lewis is a sellout. John Lewis is a sellout. I'd used Ralph Nader language, but I'm not going to... I don't want to get, like, drawn into that argument. I mean, I really don't want to get drawn into that argument. But John Lewis has sold out his civil rights record so freaking much. Like, he's done this, like, multiple times. In 1984, when it was Walter Mondale versus Jesse Jackson, who was a fellow civil rights activist, he endorsed Walter Mondale. In 2008, when it was Barack Obama versus Hillary Clinton, he was openly for Hillary Clinton and had to be pressured to endorse Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton voted for Barry Goldwater, the man who wanted to repeal the Civil Rights Act. And yet he was like, I'll endorse her over Obama. I mean, this seems like a logical choice for me. And in 2016, he endorsed Hillary Clinton again, need I remind you, Goldwater gal. And then when he was called out for endorsing the Goldwater gal, as opposed to the person who literally walked on the streets with MLK Jr., John Lewis made it seem like Bernie Sanders was faking his civil rights record. Meanwhile, he is now saying, this guy who voted to keep bus segregation said that a white supremacist senator was an okay dude and, also lied about his Civil Rights Act record. This guy's cool. I don't see a problem with that. John, you're such a fucking hypocrite. You're a 9-time co-sponsor of Medicare for All, but I refuse to endorse you. I refuse to like you. You sold out, man. You're a huge sellout. And I mean, again, I'm not gonna... You all know that the term that I'm thinking right now, I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to, but, it's not really a good look for you, the civil rights leader, to just be like, this guy saying white supremacist senator was an okay dude. I think that's alright. I will never support John Lewis ever in my life. I briefly considered it, but I'm like, no, this guy's just so much of a sellout. This guy's using his civil rights record as like, he's just like a big fucking sellout. Justice Democrats, I plead, please run someone in his district. I will gladly support anybody in his district over John Lewis because he's a sellout. Okay, when I say anyone, I don't mean like anyone. They have to be like a super progressive person. But I mean, again, why John Lewis? Why? So anyways, now on to the political candidate of the day. I was actually really hoping that you guys would vote this segment away, but nope. You all were like, nope, let's keep this segment going. I say that because I was literally running out of ideas. Okay, so a St. Louis guy, like he was in the St. Louis City Council, named Bill Haas is running for president for, I think he's running as a minor Democrat. Critical, like, here's his platform: climate change, carbon tax, get off of fossil fuels, Medicare for all, single payer, that's what he's for. He's for tuition-free college and, repaying all student debt, which is good. animal abuse on factory farms, he needs to end it. Legalizing weed, he's pro-choice. Men and women are equal. Address the opioid epidemic. Rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. No federal tax breaks for corporate people. Keeping companies in America. The basic progressive stuff. I think he'll do well. Nah, I'm just kidding. He's not gonna do well in regards to, winning votes, but he'll do decent enough in regards to the, running for president. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, he's got the good issues. So, anyways, now let's move on to a topic suggested by Hill of Roses. It's basically a mix of expectations and hopes for the first two Democratic presidential debates. Okay, so let's just get right into it. So this might be a bit rambling because there are some notes I'm just like, I tried to have some notes to, back this up, but, I couldn't really think of much because I don't really have much expectations or hopes, really. I don't have that many, but I think there's some general things I can think of in my head that I'll probably be in the debates, but I mean, so let's go ahead and just get right into it. Okay, first, debate 1, June 26th. The people that will be in this debate are Cory Booker, Julian Castro, Bill de Blasio, John Delaney, Tulsi Gabbard, Jay Inslee, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Tim Ryan, and Elizabeth Warren. So, what are my major wants? Okay, I'll start off with my first major want. I want Jay Inslee to use the climate change controversy, like the climate debate controversy, to his advantage. What do I mean by that? The Democrats not that long ago basically said we're not going to be holding a climate change, debate because shut up. And, well, that led to a lot of issues because, climate change is a very serious issue and, well, people would actually want to live in 2050, but, the DNC is like, nah, we're not going to hold a climate change debate because, if we have a climate change debate, we're going to have a Medicare for All debate, or we're going to have a debate for this, or we're going to have a debate for this, or we're going to have a debate for this. I want Jay Inslee to use that to call out the Democrats who are, well, not as strong as climate change. Like, he's like, of course you guys don't want it because you're taking fossil fuel money. You don't want to openly abuse the fossil fuel industry. And then, someone might point out the fact, like, wait a second, you have a super PAC. We don't have super PACs. You do. It's gonna be like, oh, no. I mean, you're gonna have to call out Jay Inslee at one point because he's the only major candidate that I think of that is openly opposed to super PACs. I mean, not openly opposed, like openly for super PACs. He has an open super PAC right now for his, presidential campaign. I think the rest of them are at least pretending to be against super PACs, but I mean, some of them are like, we want super PACs, but, we can't have super PACs because, if we have super PACs, we're not really going to get them far in our life. I mean, we'll have the money, but we're not going to have the 65,000 individual donors. I mean, I know we technically got past that for the first debate, but I mean, we're going to need a lot more individual donors for the next debate. So, yeah. Someone's going to have to call Inslee out on that regard. I think it'll probably be Warren or Tulsi. Because, they got the progressive chops to an extent. Okay. So, another thing is, I want Warren and Tulsi to use the left wing to their advantage. Like, I want them to actually mention issues like Medicare for All. I want them to mention issues like, foreign policy. I want them to mention all this stuff. That'll get the crowd riled up. Like, yeah, student college debt, we want that eliminated. Or legal weed, yes, more of that, please. And I think de Blasio might actually also kind of go that far, because I've heard de Blasio's like a semi-progressive guy. I mean, I'd say, I guess technically in regards to that, he'd be like higher than an Inslee, but, less than a Warren. Maybe a little more than a Warren. But I don't know entirely, because I haven't really done my research on Bill de Blasio, because who cares about Bill de Blasio, honestly? I mean, it's weird. Bill de Blasio is useless as well. I mean, to get off sidetrack for a second, it's like Jay Inslee and Eric Swalwell and Bill de Blasio, they're kind of useless candidates. I mean, what's Jay Inslee's big goal? I want to end climate change. Yeah, well, so do a lot of people on the stage. Eric Swalwell, I want gun control. Yes, so does everyone else. Next. And, Bill de Blasio's like, I want to put the working man first. Yeah, well, a lot of these guys are running on that record, so yeah, you're probably going to have to try harder than that. Okay, and speaking of Tulsi Gabbard and Elizabeth Warren, here's one major thing that I want to happen. I want Tulsi to call Warren out. You see, because here's the thing. Bernie and Tulsi aren't going to be... Bernie, Tulsi, and Warren aren't going to be on the same stage. Tulsi and Warren will be on the same stage, but Bernie won't be there. So, many people have issues distinguishing Elizabeth Warren from Bernie Sanders. But the thing is, I want Tulsi to use this opportunity to put herself on a higher pedestal than Elizabeth Warren. Because if she's on a higher pedestal, because progressives are pretty much mostly unanimous in regards to it being Bernie, Tulsi, then Warren. Of course, we have some people that are like, no, I think it's Bernie, Warren, and then Tulsi's on the way bottom because Tulsi's evil, blah, blah, blah. Cenk. Okay, but not Cenk, more like Anna. But anyways, I want Tulsi to use this opportunity to bring herself up, because especially considering she's kind of seen as one of those lesser minor candidates that isn't going to get that far in the Democratic primary. Many people already see her in that regard, despite the fact that she's filling up stadiums similar to Bernie Sanders. And when I bring this up to people who actually believe the media saying Tulsi's got zero chance, they're like, no, Tulsi's got zero chance because, Hindu nationalists. But I really want Tulsi to shine. Tulsi, you're on a debate stage without Bernie Sanders, so you're going to need, to shine. And here's the thing, Beto, or anybody else, Beto or, Booker or one of the other corporate guys are going to have to try and step up their game, because, they might end up, doing some interesting things. Because these, Booker and Beto are kind of, in, the middle ground on, in regards to how people feel about them and, polling-wise. So they're not really gonna do that well, mostly. But anyways, the biggest predictions I have are, the ultimate winners and the ultimate losers and the semi-winners. So, in my opinion, the biggest winner of the debate is, of course, Elizabeth Warren. Because, Warren's the only member of the top 5 polling candidates that is on this debate stage. So it's going to be Warren's big time to shine. Especially considering they're probably just going to give Warren the time to, policy. It's weird because it looks like now they're setting up for Warren to be the big corporate enemy of Bernie. And, that would kind of be interesting because, again, Warren's kind of progressive. She's progressive, obviously. But, her progressive chops are also in question in regards to a lot of people like Nico House and Bernie and Tulsi kind of being there's some people more progressive than her on some regards, but yeah, I'd say maybe she's, there are some people like Nico and Jimmy Dore, I think that they're fully intent, nope, Warren's not a progressive. I'm I think that's very not true. You could say there are people more progressive than her, but, saying she's just not a progressive in general is basically the equivalent of someone saying Tulsi Gabbard isn't a progressive. It's just not true. It's just not true. But I mean, again, it's Bernie, Tulsi, and then Warren's like number 4, I think. So people I think that will do well and kind of win, but not quite win, will be Tulsi Gabbard, and a lot of people have been saying Cory Booker, so yeah, I'm going to have to agree with them on that. Like, let me explain why. Gabbard will, of course, show her progressive chops, and many of the progressive vote will kind of be like, yeah, Tulsi Gabbard's really cool. And there may be some libertarian-leaning guys that might be like, yeah, I like Tulsi. Tulsi will really show her chops. And, that'll ultimately benefit Tulsi because Tulsi doesn't have the big boys to challenge, like Bernie Sanders or, Joe Biden. And that also leads credence to the idea of, like, Bernie and Tulsi's campaigns kind of being in secret alliance, like being in an unofficial alliance, because many people are saying that these two candidacies are kind of coalesced with each other. But, I mean, you might say, wait, how does Booker improve? Booker doesn't have any of the big boys either. So Booker will also have a chance to shine. And the thing is, he has kind of been staying stagnant in the polls. So he has really nowhere to go but up. Whereas other people have actually been really high in the polls and have dropped. He's kind of reading the room and being rather progressive looking. Black man. He was speculated to be gay for a long time. So he's kind of trying to make himself raise his profile a bit, especially considering like, if you notice now, the gloves have kind of come off. Booker is now calling out Biden, Kamala is calling out Biden, Bernie is calling out Biden. Like, the gloves are off now. Everybody's now fighting each other. Pete Buttigieg is going after Kirsten Gillibrand. So yeah, the gloves have been officially removed, and now they're all giving themselves bitch slaps. And I think ultimately Booker's pimp hands are strong, in kind of a weird way, but like, I mean, he doesn't do that to Rosario. He treats Rosario like a nice, beautiful lady, despite the fact that she voted for Jill Stein. Weird. Did they end up dating before or after the 2016 election? Because if it was after, I think Booker and her have kind of had some talks about, like, the election in general. It probably didn't bode well for either of them. So, ultimately, who do I believe is going to be the biggest losers of night one? Well, here are the ones that I think are going to be the biggest losers. John Delaney, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, and Julian Castro. Why those guys specifically? Well, let's analyze the one thing that many of these guys have in common. Delaney, Klobuchar, and Beto all oppose single-payer healthcare. They all oppose single-payer. Now, of course, there are a lot of other people who don't support single-payer, like Jay Inslee, and, I think a couple people on the debate stage on this night. No, I think that's actually all of them. I think we got most of the people who don't support Medicare for All on this side of the debate stage. Because even Tim Ryan, to an extent, technically supports single-payer because he's actually a co-sponsor of the Medicare for All bill. I mean, but anyways, like, that's of course strike one for Delaney, Klobuchar, obviously. And Klobuchar's also expressed, like, her and John Delaney have also expressed, like, they don't like the student loan debt stuff and, all this stuff. They ultimately are not progressive in any stretch of the word. Especially considering Delaney literally said at one of the, the California thingy, he was like, Medicare for All may sound like good policy, but it is not good policy, and it is not good politics. And then Amy Klobuchar gave this word salad, and it's like, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, yes, but can you actually answer the question? Do you support having all student loan debt free? She's like, nah, no. And then, and the thing is, of course, Beto. Oh boy, Beto. I remember long ago where I said something interesting. Everybody keeps saying that Kamala Harris has a better chance, or Biden has a better chance. I wholeheartedly disagree. Beto has the best chance out of all three, because it could still ride some of that momentum. There's an actress who endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016, Alyssa Milano. She's now running with Beto. And a lot of people were saying, like, Beto, he does have, like, the young appeal that many people might actually think is possible. But the thing is, that momentum is definitely not going to be enough to push him to win against Bernie Sanders. Like, his momentum is not going at it. It's not going to push him that far. That's just being a bit ludicrous. But it is enough to at least give you some kind of thing to show that he is the most honestly, out of all of the corporatists, that if I were like a big corporate PAC guy and I was going to pick a candidate to like tip the scales in favor of, Beto would probably be my bet. Yeah, it turns out not quite the right choice for me to make, but I mean, you could see my reasoning for not picking the best choice, but I mean, it's not the best choice. I mean, now it seems that Beto's campaign just... That's Beto's campaign right now. He had to... It's weird. Like, it's like... I mean, I saw like the both debates with Beto and Ted Cruz. He could have picked one of the two Betos that he was in order to beat Ted Cruz. He could have picked the, hi, my name is Beto O'Rourke, and I'm here to talk to you bad, Ted Cruz, to Ted, you're a fucking loser, and I'm here to tell you why. He chose Beto 1. He chose the one in the first debate that was, like, stupid, and then he could have chose second debate Beto. That would have been way better. It's like Gary Johnson. He could have chose to campaign as, like, the creepy stoner, or he could have chosen to campaign as the aggressive guy who called out Martin Heinrich for not debating him. But I mean, anyways, and of course there's Castro. Julian Castro's campaign has not went anywhere. Like, I mean, his campaign has went seriously nowhere. So, and the thing is, Castro's kind of been like propped up as like a bigger name than he should be. He's a former secretary from the White House, and he's not going anywhere. His campaign has been stagnant. The rest of them, I think, just kind of will blend in with the mix. Anyways, debate 2. The participants in this debate are Michael Bennet, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, John Hickenlooper, Bernie Sanders, Eric Swalwell, Marianne Williamson, and Andrew Yang. So first, what's one thing I like? I mean, like, what's one thing I really want to happen? Well, for starters, I want Yang and Williamson to shine. Because here's the thing. Yang and Williamson are giving themselves a chance to shine. I think if the seating chart on a website is true, Yang is going to be that far from Bernie or Biden during the debate. And that's precisely what Yang's plan was. Yang and Williamson, that was their huge plan. They were going to get on the debate stage, hopefully with one of the big boys. And not only did they get one of the big boys, they got 3 big boys and a big black girl. I mean, she's not big. She's Kamala Harris. I mean, she's big in regards to the polls, but not big in regards to her body. I mean, obviously. But anyways, hey, don't look at me for trying to do something about Kamala Harris and her body. Bernie Sanders isn't exactly that built either. But anyways, that was Yang's whole plan. Get on the debate stage so that they can Google who is the Asian guy next to Joe Biden, and boom, Andrew Yang's campaign website. That was his plan, and he succeeded. And, well, I want Yang to show that his idea will win. And the one thing that I think really does well for Andrew Yang is his one campaign issue. The one issue that Andrew Yang will actively campaign for and actively seek out. That's right. I'm talking about his circumcision ban. He'll get on that stage and he'll be like, look, the reason why I oppose Medicare for All is because if you get Medicare for All, if you have a baby in Medicare for All system, you have to get a circumcision. That's just the rule. Bernie Sanders said so. And I mean, I'm fine if you want to get your circumcision, but you gotta pay a little money first, because why would you get a circumcision for free? You don't cut the baby dicks off for free. You have to pay some of that dough. So yeah, and of course Marianne Williamson will also be there. I mean, honestly, okay, I won't get into that yet, but anyways, like, you know, they're not really, like, I mean, I want them to shine. I want them to show, like, progressive chops as well. So I really want them to grow in their debates. I want them to, like, and of course I want them to get time. Of course, with this debate, it's a bit different because you got 4 of the 5 major candidates. So a lot of time is going to be spent on those 4 as opposed to the other guys. If they want to make it, like, the thing is, they kind of failed in regards to making it not a kids' table debate. Because, again, it's like, on one night you have the 4 big candidates, and then on the other night you have Elizabeth Warren and the rest. It's pretty kids' table-y, to say the least. Okay, so anyways, the next thing I kind of want is, you know, of course, with Biden there, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, and Bernie Sanders are all going to have to try and team up. Albeit indirectly, I mean, maybe with Kamala and Pete, it'll be more direct, but, you know, those are the 3 guys that want to take down the big boy. The big boy on campus is, of course, Joe Biden. And, well, if all those guys want to run, they're going to have to try and beat him. And, of course, Bernie, of course, has the policies to beat Joe Biden. But Pete and Kamala kind of want to take the moderate/centrist/establishment vote away from Biden. So, ultimately, one of those 2 is going to try and do that. And lastly, the big thing is, I kind of want Bernie Sanders to just let loose. Release the beast. Because Bernie's really good at debates. Like, I mean, when Hickenlooper will be like, socialism doesn't work, he'll be like, actually, that is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the Soviet Union. And then when he inevitably has to go up against Joe Biden, he's inevitably just gonna release the beast. I need him to let loose on Biden, because for some reason people think Bernie and Biden are equal. Because, you know, 2 old white dudes, they're the same person, right? When, no, that's not true. Bernie's gonna have to show, like, his true progressive chops against Biden. Now, ultimately, in this debate lineup, who do I think ultimately wins out? Well, here's the thing. Ultimately, I think that the biggest winners of this debate will be Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris, or Pete Buttigieg, or one of those 2 will ultimately succeed in the taking corporate establishment vote from Biden. But who will it be? I'm not entirely sure. Now I'd probably place my money a bit more in Kamala's camp, but ultimately, I think that it would probably succeed. One of those 2 will succeed, but it's not going to be both of them. Now, the semi-winner of this debate will, of course, be Andrew Yang, because Yang, of course, has his Yang Gang. He's going to ultimately pull out in a lot of regards. And, it'll ultimately be beneficial for Andrew Yang. He has now the media attention and a huge amount of people. Many people have actually been saying, like, will Yang actually pull through and get a lot of support? I think he will. He'll do better in, like, a caucus state as opposed to a primary state, but Yang does have momentum. So many people are saying, like, Yang is just kind of a throwaway guy, like Tulsi. But I'm like, Tulsi and Yang have more momentum than you think. You can't underestimate these two. Now, ultimately, the biggest losers of this debate will be Michael Bennet, John Hickenlooper, Kirsten Gillibrand, Eric Swalwell, maybe Marianne Williamson, and last but obviously least, Joe Biden. Let me explain. First, I'll start with Marianne, because Marianne, you might be saying, like, wait, man, you were saying how you wanted her to shine before. Why are you telling us that she might lose now? Well, Marianne's on the same debate stage as Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders. And the night before, you already have Tulsi Gabbard and Elizabeth Warren. Ultimately, where is Marianne left in this? Marianne kind of got in the debate by a fluke. She only met the donor threshold. And then she met the donor threshold, and then like almost barely made it in through the polling threshold. So ultimately, Marianne kind of got in there by a fluke. And ultimately, Yang will probably take some of Marianne's momentum, and Marianne will probably drop out by the end of the election. I don't think she's really going to go that far. She's going to make a decent impression, and besides, I don't even think they're going to give her that much time anyways. So, I really don't think Marianne might get that far. She might stay around, but ultimately, I wouldn't place my money on her. Eric Swalwell is another big loser. Now, he was already a big loser, but, he's going to be an even bigger loser because what's Eric Swalwell's campaign? I'm the white knight, feminist, Russiagate, gun control advocate. That's his campaign. He's not going anywhere. He made a campaign commercial where he literally changed his child's shitty diaper. And he's like, if I could change the shit in my child's ass, then I can change the shit in Washington. Bravo. People, when they went to cast their votes, they're like, I cast my vote because Eric Swalwell made me think of his child's shitty ass. Bravo. Eric Swalwell's not going anywhere. Fun fact, did you know that at one point Ro Khanna and Eric Swalwell were actually going to be campaigning against each other for the same seat? But the incumbent for the seat, Pete Stark, who is an atheist, super progressive politician, ultimately decided he was going to run for re-election, so Khanna just decided to endorse Stark instead of running himself. Swalwell wasn't campaigning on issues, he was mostly running on the fact that Stark is old AF and needs to go, which ultimately actually won him the seat. A similar situation came out of Eric Swalwell. He was primarying a super progressive but old Democrat, and they didn't campaign on issues at all. He was basically saying, you're old. Next. Okay, so, anyways, similar situation in regards to Kirsten Gillibrand. Gillibrand is the Me Too candidate. That's it. She's tried to campaign on being a super lefty, but ultimately, Bernie's got that covered. Warren's got that covered. To an extent. Tulsi's got that covered. Gillibrand's whole Me Too candidate thing is really going nowhere. It's getting her in Pete Buttigieg's crosshairs, but that's pretty much it. Her campaign's just gonna kind of blend in with, I thought that she had the second best chance out of all the corporate Democrats, but, above Kamala, because I thought Kamala really had zero momentum, but nah, it really appears that Kirsten's kind of faded in the dust. I barely remember she's running, to be quite honest. Okay, that's a semi-lie, but you get what I'm saying. campaign's not that good. John Hickenlooper and Michael Bennet have a similar situation. They're the centrists that are running in a super lefty time period. They're one of the two remaining candidates that openly oppose a single-payer system. Here, I have a list right here. Michael Bennet, Steve Bullock, John Delaney, John Hickenlooper, Jay Inslee, Amy Klobuchar, Seth Moulton, and Beto O'Rourke. These are the candidates that openly oppose a single-payer system. Biden has kind of remained unknown in this regard. But, I mean, you know, it's not really good for anyone to campaign against Medicare for All when it has a 63% approval rating. But, I mean, you know, they ultimately are like, yeah, we're going to run against single payer and socialism. Socialism is bad. That's their whole campaign, so it's not really going anywhere either. And, of course, we have Joe Biden. Why do I believe Joe Biden is the biggest loser? Well, very simple. 3 out of 4 of his biggest opponents in this election are going to be on his same stage. And Biden's good at one-on-one debates, but isn't that good in multi-person debates. He's good at getting sound bites in multi-person debates, but, you know, otherwise he doesn't do that well. And even then, it's really only attacking Republicans, not his fellow Democrats. Like, remember the whole Rudy Giuliani, there are only 3 things that come out of his mouth: a noun, a verb, and 9/11. Ooh, that's really gonna win you that far. Why don't you reference the fact that Donald Trump grabbed a woman by the pussy? That's really gonna win you some votes, dude. Especially considering, you know, Biden, he's running in the 90s. He's a 90s Democrat that won't go away. It's not the 90s anymore. Centrism ultimately doesn't win. Centrism doesn't work. But anyways, I guess that's pretty much it for my predictions / hopes for the debate. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report. What do you think is going to happen in the debate? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below.